What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're talking about The Passion of the Christ, which is a 2004 religious drama directed by Mel Gibson, and it primarily stars Jim Caviezel, but there's a lot of great actors in it as well, and it's a film that chronicles the last 12 hours of Jesus' life after he is captured and the pain that he endures at the hands of the Romans as they prepare him for his crucifixion. Now, some people know this about me, most people don't, but I was raised as a non-denominational Christian. Throughout the years, that has mostly changed, and I consider myself to be agnostic because there's just too many conflicting beliefs between what I think God should be and what everybody else believes he is. And plus, I feel like most of the hate crimes in our world are due to religious beliefs in general, so I didn't want to put myself in a position where I'd understand that. So my belief is pretty much, maybe there's a God, maybe there's not. I don't know for sure. I'm just trying to be a good person until I find out. So let's talk about this movie with the most famous tutelage in literature, and let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, tutelage, a guiding influence. Ever since I began reviewing films, I've seen a ton of religious ones, and I have crapped on nearly every one. Not because of a religious standpoint, but from a cinematic and writing standpoint. They're not usually made very well because the only thing they consider important is spreading a good message, and they don't care on how they actually do that, so the end result is usually something pretty awful. But I've held the belief that the Bible itself is filled with really good stories, all of which would be amazing as movies if they just did it right. And doing it right, to me, means approaching it from a secular position. Don't turn it into some kind of preach fest because the only people you're going to reach is your own people. A secular take on a biblical story reaches further crowds, and actually it creates much more of an impact. One of my favorite biblical films, other than this movie, is Noah for the same reason. It's a secular take on the Noah story, and it's a really great film. And if you're not going to be secular, if you're going to be super preachy, at least give it an R rating. Stop censoring yourself. The world is rated R, and bad things happen all the time. I think religion is most effective and most powerful when it's in such a sharp contrast to the raw, evil nature of the world, and that's exactly what The Passion of the Christ is. A lot of people talk about how gory and how bloody this film is, and I've got to say they're not wrong, but it could have easily been worse. Comparing it to other Christian films, I mean, obviously it's like Saw, and certainly it could make you uncomfortable, which is good. But the reason why I felt so uncomfortable watching it had less to do with the blood and gore and more to do with the absolutely evil and vitriolic hate spewing from everybody surrounding Jesus, who's just a guy trying to spread the good word. They rush at the chance to let a murderer go free just to see this guy get crucified. To see him whipped with chains and blades that leave him hanging on by a thread as is before he's ever nailed to the cross. There's a lot of shots of Romans in this movie as they whip and kick and beat this guy nearly to death, and their faces have the wildest, craziest smiles. They're laughing, they're going crazy, and throughout it all, you gotta admit, the film's kind of modern. Because you got a clear line in the sand with people that are either hateful, hostile, and just evil all around, or those that are trying to defend Jesus and just, they can't do anything. The nation is as divided in this film as I feel like our own nation is divided right now. But if you guys watch my channel, you know that I like narrative. I like there to be an end goal, I like there to be obstacles, all that, and this film doesn't have any of that really. But I'm really torn on it because this is one of the oldest stories ever told. We all know it. We all know how it will end. We all know how it got to that point in the first place. So what I usually look for in a narrative isn't so important to me right now. But even so, as a general rule, the point of the film seems a little bit lacking. I mean, why make the movie at all? To make it more realistic? To make it more authentic? I mean, sure, but I didn't fully even understand why some of the flashbacks were in there. In my original review, I mentioned that I felt as if the flashbacks were in the film to appeal to a wider audience, to show them scenes that they would basically just want out of a Jesus film, and also to take a breather from all the harsh, violent moments of the film. But these flashbacks don't really connect to anything else in the movie. They're just kind of random scenes. Thankfully, it's not a huge concern because to me, guys, this movie's powerful and visually it's beautiful. It is easily the best religious film to have ever existed because it doesn't even try to censor itself. It was a brilliant move to keep the film in the traditional Aramaic language. Whitewashing's a bit much, but pretty much any Jesus film is gonna be whitewashed if you think about it. Cinematically, the film just looks immaculate from beginning to end, and the main thing that I have to say about it to Christians is yes, it's a tough movie, and yet it makes you uncomfortable, but appreciate that feeling because the death of Christ is supposed to be uncomfortable. With that, let's go ahead and talk about the end score for a second from a technical, unbiased vantage point. This film is made incredibly well. There's a lot of focus on the visuals, the sound, how it's all edited together, the acting, the dialogue, the balance of the film, the depth of the story, everything. So that unbiased score is 90%, and because this, to me, is a nearly perfect film in general, my bias score is 98%, averaging everything out to a final score of 94%, 94 out of 100 possible stars, granting The Passion of the Christ with a letter grade of A, exactly the same score that I gave it back in the day. This is a wonderful film, and you don't need to be religious to appreciate what Mel Gibson is doing with this film. If ever there was a religious film that a wide audience could watch, it would most definitely be this one. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on the film in the comments down below. What do you think about it? Is this the best religious film ever made? And if you don't think it is, let's hear your, top 3, and I'll let you know my thoughts on those as well in the comments down below. As for YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button if you like this review because there's more like it coming up. Hit the thumbs up button because that always helps out my channel. And don't forget about the little bell icon because that's going to notify you when I come out with my next review, which I think is 2005's Flight Plan. But I could be mistaken on that. We'll see. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.